Por varias razones. Yo creo que este mundo es un lugar extraño. Primeramente, es físicamente extraño. So the first reason here why I would say this is a weird place, it's physically weird. Vivimos sobre una bola que cuelga sobre la nada, en el espacio. ¿Has pensado en eso? Have you ever thought that you live on a rock that is hanging in the middle of nothing? Just think about that for a second. That's what Job says. He hangs the earth on nothing. Y no solamente eso, pero vivimos sobre una bola que gira. Está girando en este momento. Está girando alrededor de otra estrella, pero es tan estable que ni siquiera damos cuenta. Eso es algo extraño. Isn't it a little bit weird that the earth rotates? It's rotating right now and you don't even know it. I turned 34 yesterday. Sorry, 25 yesterday. I've been around the sun 34 times. How many days did I think, hey, I'm spinning around the sun? Right? Y cada semana llegamos aquí en el mismo lugar y eso no se ha movido a pesar del hecho que la Tierra está girando. Isn't it weird, even though the earth is spinning, the church is always here in the same spot? It's just odd. Don't you think that's odd? Okay, well, all right. Es físicamente extraño, pero también es relacionalmente extraño. Los idiomas me fascinan. I think it's even a little bit relationally weird. I mean, doesn't language fascinate you? It just fascinates me. Bueno, ¿qué tal si Dios hubiera creado otra forma de comunicar? Como telepatía. Bueno, ahora yo sabría lo que Ben está pensando. Carne asada.
Eso es neat.
Oh, that's just neat. If God had created another way for us to communicate, maybe by like I can't pronounce it in Spanish or English. Telepathy. Goodness gracious. Telepathy. Right now, I would know what people are thinking. We could just share these thoughts. Be like, me and Teresa, be on the same wavelength. We'd know everything we're thinking. Pero las palabras, bueno, los idiomas me fascinan. ¿Por qué? Porque los sonidos que hacemos con la boca llevan todo el significado de la vida. Los sonidos que hacemos con la boca, eso es raro. Así. Languages are just kind of weird because every meaning in your life is carried by these sounds you make with your mouth. Right? And if you make a wrong sound with your mouth, then people don't know what you're talking about. But the most important things in your life are communicated like this. By other means too. But you can communicate that you love somebody with words. I was texting with, well, should I tell? Yeah, I'll tell it anyway. I was texting with Martha last night and she was talking about my baldness and she said boldness. And so I said, guess she just thinks that. Anyway. So, pero las palabras me fascinan. Es un poco extraño que yo puedo comunicar las cosas más importantes de mi vida con sonidos que yo hago conmigo. Eso es raro. So it's just a little weird to me. If you think about languages, just think about how much of the culture they carry for you. Right? Think about how important your language is to your heart. That's why if you ever share the gospel with somebody and you can share it in their heart language, it means a lot more. Right? Si tú puedes compartir el evangelio, si vas a compartir con alguien el evangelio, tú puedes compartir en su idioma, el idioma de su corazón. Eso es tan importante. Así que físicamente extraño, relacionalmente extraño, también a veces y a menudo es espiritualmente y emocionalmente extraño. This world also, many times, can also be emotionally and spiritually weird. Look at what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 7:15 and see if you agree. Mira Ecclesiastes 7:15. A lo que Salomón concluyó sobre el mundo y cómo eso no tenía sentido para él. He visto durante mi vida de vanidad, hay justo que perece en su justicia, hay impío que alarga su vida en su perversidad. Eso es raro. Solomon says, I've seen everything during my lifetime of futility. There's a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there's a wicked man who prolongs his life in his wickedness. And I think Solomon says, that's weird. ¿Cómo es que en el mundo que Dios ha creado siendo justo, que los justos sufren y los malvados prosperen? How is it in the world that God created, being a just God, that often it is the righteous who suffer and it is the wicked who prosper? That's weird. Y Salomón, quien era el hombre más sabio en toda la historia del mundo, fuera de Jesús, él no entendió esto. Solomon, who was the wisest man who had ever lived outside of Jesus, did not understand this, and it wasn't just him. If you got your Bibles, go to Psalm 73. No fue simplemente Salomón, también el salmista. Mira conmigo Salmo 73, 12 a 14. Psalm 73, 12 to 14. You're going to hear the psalmist say something very similar. Vamos a escuchar el salmista. Dice algo muy similar. Él dice, he aquí, estos son los impíos y siempre desahogados. Han aumentado sus riquezas. Ciertamente en vano he guardado puro mi corazón y lavado mis manos en inocencia, pues he sido azotado todo el día y castigado cada mañana. El salmista dice, ¿por qué, Señor? The psalmist says, behold, these are the wicked, and always at ease. They have increased in wealth. Surely in vain have I kept my heart pure and washed my hands in innocence. For I have been stricken all day long and chastened every morning. You ever thought that? Why do I have to suffer all the time if I'm living for Jesus? That's weird. Es un poco raro, extraño, que yo estoy sufriendo, viviendo por Cristo. Go to Psalm 94. Mira Salmo 94, 3. Psalm 94, 3. Look what he says here. ¿Hasta cuándo los impíos, Señor? ¿Hasta cuándo los impíos se regocijarán? The psalmist says, how long shall the wicked, O Lord, how long shall the wicked rejoice? You don't think they struggle with it? A veces este mundo parece espiritualmente extraño. ¿Por qué es que los justos sufren y los malvados prosperan? Why is it in the world that seems so weird to us that the righteous often suffer and the wicked often prosper? Y aquí es la cosa. Cuando pasamos sufrimiento, tenemos la tendencia de hacernos la pregunta, ¿qué he hecho para desagradar a Dios? ¿No es cierto? When you're suffering, I bet you have the tendency to say this, what have I done to make God mad? Aunque sabemos que, bueno, el sufrimiento puede ser el resultado directo del pecado, pero yo quiero decirles algo. Muchas veces los justos sufren no por algo que ellos han hecho. Your suffering could be a result, a direct result of your sin, but not necessarily. There are many times you will suffer in this life living for Jesus just because you're living for Jesus. Pero no importa, porque en este momento nuestros corazones tienen este concepto de sufrimiento que dice, si yo estoy sufriendo, Dios está enojado conmigo. Your heart, though, is wired to think, if I'm suffering, God's mad at me. Has to be. Mi corazón muchas veces se convierte en el amigo de Job. My heart turns into Job's friends really easily. You remember what Job's friends were like? What great counselors they were. Go over to Job chapter 4. You don't have to go there, I'll read it to you. Job 4, 7 a 8. Job no había hecho nada por sufrir. Job didn't do anything that made him suffer. He suffered because he was righteous. And his friends could not understand that. Sus amigos, eso no cabía en su mente, que uno puede sufrir siendo inocente. Así que ellos dijeron a Job, this is what they said to Job in Job chapter 4. Recuerda ahora, ¿quién siendo inocente ha perecido jamás? ¿O dónde han sido destruidos los rectos? Por lo que yo he visto, los que harán iniquidad y los que siembran aflicción, eso ciegan. Imagínate Job en ese momento tratando de encontrar consuelo. Y sus amigos dicen, yo sé que tú has sembrado aflicción. y ahora estás llegando a lo que mereces. Just think about it. Here's Job's friends, and they say this to him. Remember now, whoever perished being innocent. You're not innocent, Job. Or where were the upright destroyed? According to what I have seen, those who plow iniquity and those who sow trouble harvested. I mean, who needs enemies when you got friends like that? Right? Richard's like, yeah. Amen. Nuestros corazones se convierten en los amigos de Job de acusarnos cuando estamos sufriendo, diciendo, obviamente has hecho algo para desagradar a Dios. If you're suffering, I promise you, you're going to battle against a heart that tells you you've done something wrong, even if you know you haven't, and you're suffering as a just person. Y por eso lo que vimos la semana pasada es tan importante. That's why what we saw last week is so important. You remember what we saw last week? ¿Tú recuerdas lo que vimos la semana pasada? Salomón concluyó esto. Yo no sé en mi sabiduría humana lo que es mejor para mí en esta vida. Solomon concludes this. I don't know in this life what is best for me. Dios tiene una sabiduría más alta y por eso muchas veces en la economía de Dios es la adversidad y no la prosperidad que produce el efecto que Él quiere en mi vida. In God's infinitely high wisdom, many times it is not prosperity but adversity that produces the effect He wants. And that doesn't make sense to me. And that's why He says, it's not your wisdom, it's mine. Por eso, cuando eso no cabe en mi mente, que la adversidad produce el efecto que Él quiere, no la prosperidad, yo necesito confiar en su sabiduría, no en la mía. Y eso es el punto. Mire conmigo ecclesiastes 7:14. That's the whole point of giving us adversity. Look at Ecclesiastes 7:14. Alégrate en el día de la prosperidad y en el día de la adversidad. Considera, Dios ha hecho tanto el uno como el otro para que el hombre no descubra nada que suceda después de él. Ecclesiastes 7:14, in the day of prosperity be happy, but in the day of adversity consider, God has made the one as well as the other so that man will not discover anything that will be after him. Mira, Dios tiene la mezcla justa y correcta y perfecta de adversidad y prosperidad en mi vida para mantenerme dependiente de su sabiduría y no de la mía. God has the perfect mixture of pain and pleasure in your life to make sure that you maintain dependence upon His wisdom and not on yours, because it doesn't make any sense to you. Él me da adversidad para que yo me aferre a Él. He gives me adversity so that I cling to Him. You ever been there with God? Y si la única cosa que yo sé en este lado del cielo es que Él usa adversidad en mi vida para mantenerme dependiente de Él, eso basta. If the only thing you know, listen to me, do you know God never gave Job an answer? He never said, this is why you're suffering. He just said, I'm God, you're not. If you never know this side of heaven why you're suffering, except for this, that adversity brings about what He wants and His wisdom is higher, that's enough for you. That's enough. He may not give you the answer this side of heaven. He says, I want you to trust me. Tal vez Él no nos va a dar la respuesta de este lado del cielo. Él quiere que nos confiemos en Él. Por eso un comentario dijo esto. This is a commentary that I found, I think, put it a good way. Por eso, imagínate esto y escuche muy bien. Salomón argumentó que la prosperidad no era una indicación segura del placer de Dios, ni la adversidad una señal segura de su ira. Listen to this, please listen closely. Solomon argued that prosperity was not a sure sign of the pleasure of God, nor adversity a sure sign of His wrath. Did you hear that? La prosperidad no es una indicación segura de su placer. Muchas veces en la Biblia los ricos son los condenados. ¿Seguro? ¿Cierto? Prosperity does not necessarily mean that God is pleased with you, and neither does adversity mean that He's angry with you. You have to change the way that you think about this. And did you know, and everybody needs to hear this, most of the time, prosperity and riches in the Bible are not looked upon favorably. You're given warning after warning after warning after warning about this in the Bible. Lo que necesitamos es ver el mundo a través de su sabiduría. Y cuando yo veo el mundo con sus ojos, este mundo no parece tan extraño como antes. When I begin to see the world with God's eyes, you know what? What seems so weird to me, that suffering would produce what He wants, doesn't seem as weird anymore. Now, that's all last week. Todo eso fue la semana pasada. Esta semana, yo creo que Salomón quiere ir más profundo con nosotros. This week, I think that Solomon wants to go deeper with us. Now, you have to stay with me right here, okay? Tú tienes que mantener atención. Escúchame muy bien. Tú puedes afirmar todo lo que hemos visto y dicho hasta ahora. Tú puedes afirmar todo eso y todavía creer en tu corazón, esto no es justo. You can affirm. You can be here in church and you can affirm, I believe that, and in your heart think, that's not just. Tú puedes afirmar todo lo que hemos visto, que Dios usa adversidad en mi vida para producir el efecto que Él quiere. Tú puedes afirmar todo eso y gruñir en tu corazón contra Dios diciendo, yo merezco mejor. If you just say with your mouth, I believe everything God is saying here, I can affirm it all, I can give all the outward appearance, you can still grumble in your heart against God and say, I deserve better. And Solomon is going to get to that. That's where Solomon wants to go. Solomon quiere tocar ese nervio. ¿Sí? Solomon quiere tocar ese nervio. Tenemos una tendencia a querer la gracia a menos que pensemos que hemos hecho bien. We have a tendency to want grace unless we think we're doing well. If you think you're doing well, you have a tendency to start to think God owes you something. Si tú estás haciendo bien, si tú estás viviendo por Cristo, tú tienes una tendencia de pensar, Dios me debe algo. ¿Por qué? Hay un hombre que vive dentro de cada uno de nosotros. ¿Cómo se llama? El hermano mayor. There's a man living on the inside of each one of us. You know what his name is? His name is the older brother. Everybody go over to Luke chapter 15 real quick. We'll show you something. Mira Lucas 15. Imagínate la escena. Tenemos Jesús en el medio de un cuarto. Y tenemos los fariseos alrededor del cuarto apegados a la pared mirando. Y Jesús en medio, reclinado en una mesa con pecadores. I just want you to imagine the scene here in Luke 15, because here's what it looks like. Imagine this room, okay? And right here in the middle of this room, there's a table, and Jesus is hanging out with sinners and tax collectors right here. But around the entire exterior of the wall, there are Pharisees lining the wall there looking at Jesus. Okay? That's what's going on. Jesús contó una parábola que se llama el hijo pródigo, pero debería ser llamado los hijos pródigos. Porque los dos hijos tenían corazones lejos de Dios. We call this parable that Jesus told to everybody right there, the prodigal son. It should be the prodigal sons. Because they're both prodigal, just in different ways. Jesús describió a los fariseos como el hermano mayor. Yo no sé si ustedes recuerdan lo que pasó con él. Jesus describes the Pharisees as the older brother. What did the older brother do? What did he say? What happened? ¿Qué pasó con el hermano mayor? Se enojó. He got mad. Why did he get mad? Okay? Because he thought he deserved more. Right? Él pensaba que él merecía más. Y cuando el hijo pródigo, que había salido, cuando él regresaba a la casa y su padre puso gracias sobre él, ¿qué dijo el hermano mayor? ¿Qué me has hecho? ¿Sí? The older brother is standing there when the father throws on the robe to the younger son, and when he puts a signet ring on his finger and he brings him into the house, and the father goes out and says, "Son, won't you come in?" And what's he say? No, in effect, I deserve something from you. He deserves nothing from you. Okay? Yo merezco algo de ti, él no merece nada. Now, I want everybody to think about this for a second. Yo quiero que pienses en esto. Él no quería dar la gracia a su hermano porque él nunca había experimentado la gracia por sí mismo. He never wanted to give the grace to his brother because he had never experienced grace for himself. Él no quería dar gracia a otro porque él no pensaba que él necesitaba gracia. He didn't want to give grace to somebody because he thought he didn't need it himself. And I just want you to see this. I need you to know, you and I have the elder brother living in us. Tenemos el hermano mayor viviendo en nosotros. Porque cuando estamos sufriendo, pensando, yo merezco mejor, eso es el hermano mayor. When you're suffering and you say to God, I deserve more than this, that's the older brother coming out. Jesús está diciendo, fariseos, ustedes se comportan como el hermano mayor y todo lo que hacen no es porque Dios es tu tesoro, es porque tú quieres poner a Dios como deudor. Tú quieres que Dios te deba algo para que no tener que humillarte como los pecadores y decir, todos nosotros somos mendigos. This is the reality. The older brother, Jesus tells the Pharisees, he says, you guys, all of you in here, you are like the older brother because you want God to be in debt to you. You keep doing things not because God's your treasure, but so that God will owe you and you don't have to be humble like these sinners who know they need help. You don't want to do that. I want to tell you, listen, when you're suffering, you can be just like the older brother and forget that you deserve nothing from Him. Whatever He gives you outside of hell is mercy. Cualquier que Dios me da fuera del infierno es misericordia, es gracia. Yo no merezco nada de Dios. Y por eso Salomón dijo esto en Ecclesiastes 7:16. I want you to see Ecclesiastes 7:16. This is why Solomon said this. No seas demasiado justo, ni seas sabio en exceso, porque has de destruirte. Ecclesiastes 7:16. Do not be excessively righteous and do not be overly wise. Why should you ruin yourself? Él no está diciendo que no debemos ser justos ni sabios. Él está diciendo en el momento en que Dios te da adversidad, no seas justo en tu propia opinión. He's not saying you shouldn't be just and wise. He's saying when you're suffering, don't bring out your righteousness card and say, I shouldn't be suffering. Don't be self-righteous. And don't be so wise that you tell God, I know better. No seas demasiado sabio que digas a Dios, yo sé mejor que tú. Because Solomon had seen this. When God brings adversity, when we don't understand, when the world seems weird in this way, we have a tendency to say, I'm really righteous, I'm really wise, God, I know better and I deserve more. Cuando estamos sufriendo, muchas veces tenemos la tendencia de pensar, por causa de mi justicia yo merezco más, y por causa de mi sabiduría yo sé mejor. And that's a danger, folks. So I want to give you 3 reasons not to be self-righteous when you're suffering. Yo quiero darte 3 razones por las que no debes ser sabio o, bueno, justo en tu propia opinión cuando estás sufriendo. No debes reclamar tu propia justicia, tu justicia propia. You don't need to be trying to claim your self-righteousness when you're suffering. This is what Solomon is trying to get us away from. So here's the first reason. Aquí es la primera razón. La justicia propia, o reclamando, o bueno, yo voy a mostrar mi justicia en mi propia opinión, eso te hace pensar que no necesitas la gracia. Being self-righteous makes you think that you don't need grace. True or false?
True.
Reclamar mi justicia propia me hace pensar que yo no necesito gracia. That makes you think you don't need grace. Everybody go to Romans chapter 10, verse 3. Mira Romanos 10, 3. El problema con todos los judíos es esto. Ellos no querían someterles a la justicia de Dios. The entire problem with the Jews is simply this. They did not want to submit themselves to the justice of God. And you can see it in Romans chapter 10, verse 3. Romanos 10, 3. Romans 10, 3. Pues, desconociendo la justicia de Dios y procurando establecer la suya propia, no se sometieron a la justicia de Dios. Romans 10, 3. For not knowing about God's righteousness and seeking to establish their own, they did not subject themselves to the righteousness of God. Why were the Jews lost? They didn't want to submit themselves to God. They wanted to establish their own righteousness. Los judíos hasta hoy día están perdidos porque ellos no quieren someterles a ¿qué? La justicia de Dios. Ellos quieren establecer su propio. Y en el momento de sufrimiento, cuando tenemos la adversidad, la última cosa que tú quieres decir a Dios es, bueno, yo tengo la justicia que cumple con tu estándar. Tú no quieres decir eso. The last thing you want to say when you're suffering is, my self-righteousness reaches your righteous standard. Because that's what you're saying when you start complaining. Eso es lo que estamos diciendo cuando nos quejamos. Yo soy tan justo que no merezco esto. Yo creo que Dios está diciendo, ¿qué? Saying to God, I'm so righteous that I don't deserve to be suffering here. And God's saying, you're so what? Aquí es la segunda razón. Here's the second reason not to be self-righteous. La segunda razón por la que no debemos reclamar nuestra justicia propia. Toda buena obra que tú haces es por la gracia. Every good work that you do as a Christian is because of grace. Did you hear me? Cada buena obra, todas las buenas obras que tú haces como cristiano es por causa de gracia. Everything that you do in the Christian life is because of grace. You're not doing it. If you're doing it, it's not a good work. Everybody go over to 1 Corinthians 15:10. Mira conmigo 1 Corintios 15:10. 1 Corintios 15:10. 1 Corinthians 15:10. Pablo dijo esto, pero por la gracia de Dios soy lo que soy, y su gracia para conmigo no resultó vana. Antes bien he trabajado mucho más que todos ellos, aunque no yo, sino la gracia de Dios en mí. ¿Qué está produciendo el efecto? Mi trabajo o la gracia de Dios. La gracia de Dios. Listen, 1 Corinthians 15:10, listen to this. By the grace of God I am what I am, and His grace toward me did not prove vain, but I labored even more than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God with me. What did you do to produce a good work? You put yourself in the position, and the grace of God took over. It's the grace of God that does the work. It's not you. You have to move your arm, right? But the grace of God is what is bringing you to produce a good result. Mira esto. Yo quiero salvarnos de algo terrible. Nunca debemos pensar, yo estoy haciendo algo bueno por Dios. Dios está haciendo algo bueno a través de mí por sí mismo. Eso es lo que debemos pensar. I'm not doing good things for God, because that doesn't glorify Him. God's doing good things through me for God. Look at Galatians. Gálatas. Mira Gálatas 3:3. Galatians 3:3. Paul didn't hold back when he was talking to the Galatians. Pablo no se restringió cuando él estaba hablando con los Gálatas. Él dijo, Gálatas 3:3, tan insensatos sois. Habiendo comenzado por el Espíritu, vais a terminar ahora por la carne? Paul says to them, are you so foolish? Having begun by the Spirit, are you now being perfected by the flesh? Déjame preguntarte algo. Si tú has comenzado por la fe en Cristo, ¿piensas que tú vas a ganar más justicia de lo que Él ya te ha dado? If you started by getting righteousness from Christ that He gave to you on the basis of what He did, are you now going to get more on the basis of what you do? That's the point. Y aquí es la maravilla de la justificación. La justificación me enseña que yo tengo toda la justicia de Dios por causa de lo que Cristo ha hecho. Yo no puedo agregar nada a eso y es gratis. The wonder of being justified is this. God slams the gavel and says, in Christ, because of what He's done, I'm giving you all of my righteousness, and there is nothing you can do to gain any more of it. I've given you all that you need for now and eternity. That's the wonder of being justified. Y yo no sirvo para ganar más justicia de Dios, yo sirvo porque ya la tengo. I don't serve so I get more righteousness from God. I serve because I already have it. That's what being a Christian means. If you're a Christian, that's what it means to be a Christian. Si eres un cristiano, eso es lo que significa ser cristiano. Esa es la diferencia entre cristianismo y todas las otras religiones del mundo. This is the difference between the gospel and everything else. Go to 1 Peter 4:11. I want to tell you how you should serve. Mira, 1 Pedro 4:11. Yo quiero mostrarte cómo debes servir. This is how you should serve. Pedro 4:11. 1 Peter 4:11. Look at this. El que habla, que hable conforme a las palabras de Dios. El que sirve, que lo haga por la fortaleza que Dios da, para que en todo Dios sea glorificado mediante Jesucristo. 1 Peter 4:11. Whoever speaks is to do so as one who is speaking the utterances of God, and whoever serves is to do so as one who is serving by the strength which God supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ. Listen to this. You can serve, but not in the strength that God supplies, and it doesn't glorify Him at all. Tú puedes servir, pero no en la fuerza de Dios, la fuerza que Él provee, y si no sirves en la fuerza que Él provee, eso no glorifica a Dios. Entonces, en el momento en que yo estoy sufriendo diciendo, yo soy justo, ¿qué tengo que mostrar? Todas las buenas obras que yo tengo, Él ha producido en mí. Así que, ¿quién recibe el crédito? Yo o Él. Listen, in the moment when I'm suffering, when I'm claiming my self-righteousness and saying, God, I deserve better, every good work I've ever done is owing to His grace, not to my strength, so who deserves the credit anyway? God does. Well, here's the last reason. Aquí es la última razón, la tercera razón. No somos tan buenos como pensamos. En el momento en que yo quiero reclamar mi justicia propia, yo necesito recordar que yo no soy tan bueno como pienso yo. We are not as good as we think we are. In the moment where you tell God, look at all I've done and you're paying me back with suffering, just remember, you're not nearly as good as you think you are. Look at Ecclesiastes 7:20. Mira Ecclesiastes 7:20. Ecclesiastes 7:20. Él dice, ciertamente no hay hombre justo en la tierra que haga el bien y nunca peque. Ecclesiastes 7:20, indeed, there is not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and who never sins. Amen, somebody. Y bueno, necesitamos recordar esto, porque mira, versículo 21, we need to remember this because just look at Ecclesiastes 7:21. Tampoco tomes en serio todas las palabras que se hablan, no sea que oigas a tu siervo maldecirte. 21. Don't take seriously all the words which you are spoken, or which are spoken, so that you will not hear your servant cursing you. The point is, people say things they don't mean. Okay? El punto es esto. La gente dice cosas que no quiere decir. Bueno, hay palabras que salen de su boca que ellos quieren. See? So maybe Ben's at work, and he overhears somebody, right? And they're talking bad about him. He shouldn't pay too much attention to that. Tal vez tú estás en tu trabajo, alguien te está maldeciendo, y tú dices, oh, tú no debes tomar esto demasiado serio. Edgar, la misma cosa. See? Here's why you shouldn't take it too seriously. Look at verse 22. Porque tú también te das cuenta que muchas veces has maldecido a otros de la misma manera. For you have realized that you likewise have many times cursed others. So don't be too serious about how righteous you are, especially in the moment when you hear somebody say something. Just remember, you've done it too. You've said a lot of stupid things you wish you wouldn't have said. Is that true or false? Tú has dicho muchas cosas estúpidas. Tú necesitas recordar eso. Pero no es solamente que no somos tan buenos como pensamos, es que no somos tan sabios como asumimos. It's not just you're not as good as you think you are, it's that you're not as wise as you think you are. You're not as wise. We're not as wise. You're not wise enough to tell God when you're suffering, I know better. Look at Ecclesiastes 7:23 to 24. Ecclesiastes 7, 23 a 24 dice esto. Todo esto probé con sabiduría, dije, seré sabio, pero esto está lejos de mí. Está lejos lo que ha sido y en extremo profundo, ¿quién lo descubrirá? Ecclesiastes 7:23 to 24. I tested all this with wisdom and I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. What has been is remote and exceedingly mysterious. Who can discover it? Salomón dijo la misma cosa en Ecclesiastes 1, 17 a 18. Mira eso conmigo. Solomon said the same thing in Ecclesiastes 1, 17 to 18. Everybody go there real quick. Man, it is hot up here. Did somebody turn the heat up? Turn that heat down. Oh, you're cold. Oh my goodness gracious. About to die. That's okay. Leave it on for Mr. Reese's cold. Mira, Ecclesiastes 1, 17 a 18. Everybody look at Ecclesiastes 1, 17 to 18. Apliqué mi corazón a conocer la sabiduría y conocer la locura y la insensatez. Me di cuenta de que esto también es correr tras el viento. Porque en la mucha sabiduría hay mucha angustia y quien aumenta el conocimiento aumenta el dolor. Ecclesiastes 1, 17, 18. I set my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I realized that this also is striving after wind, because in much wisdom there is much grief, and increasing knowledge results in increasing pain. Porque dijo Salomón que en la mucha sabiduría eso aumenta el dolor. Why did Solomon say when you have a lot of wisdom, this just increases your pain? Okay. So the more you know, the more you know you don't know, right? Could be that. Aquí es otra opción, también relacionado. Que cuando tú tienes mucha sabiduría, cuando tengas mucha sabiduría, tú puedes entender los problemas del mundo, pero no resolverlos. When you got a lot of wisdom, you know more about the problems of the world, but you still can't solve them. Salomón estaba diciendo lo mismo aquí en Ecclesiastes 7. Yo trataba de entender, pero yo no podía resolver los propósitos de Dios en esta vida, porque a veces nos da adversidad, a veces la prosperidad. Él tiene su camino, yo no entiendo. Solomon's almost saying the same thing in Ecclesiastes 7. He's saying, when I applied my mind to try to understand this, I realized God's ways are higher than mine. And when He gives adversity and prosperity together in this certain mixture, I'm just not going to understand that in all of His ways. I don't understand all the purposes of God. Let me tell you what Solomon did understand when he applied his mind. Cuando Salomón investigó, déjame decirte lo que él sí entendió. Él entendió Ecclesiastes 7:25. Everybody go to Ecclesiastes 7:25. This is what Solomon did see. He didn't understand all the purposes of God, but he found something else out. Salomón no entendió todos los propósitos de Dios, pero él encontró esto. Ecclesiastes 7:25. Dirigí mi corazón a conocer, investigar, a buscar la sabiduría y la razón, y reconocer la maldad de la insensatez y la necesidad de la locura. Y hallé más amarga que la muerte a la mujer cuyo corazón es lazos y redes, cuyas manos son cadenas. El que agrada a Dios escapará de ella, pero el pecador será por ella apresado. Solomon says, I directed my mind to know, to investigate, to seek wisdom and an explanation, to know the evil of folly and the foolishness of madness. And I discovered more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, whose hands are chains. One who's pleasing to God will escape from her, but the sinner will be captured by her. Escúchame muy bien, yo leí muchos comentarios sobre esto, porque esto es un poco enigmático. ¿Qué quiere decir Salomón? This is very hard to understand. I don't know if you get that or not. Solomon finds something in the world. What is it? It's enigmatic. Some people were saying, well, Solomon was trying to avoid a certain type of woman. I don't think so. You've seen a lot, yeah. Algunos dijeron que Salomón estaba tratando de evitar cierto tipo de mujer. ¿Quién es la mujer en 7:26? Who's the woman? That's it? What's it? Very good. Very good. Jonathan got it. Jonathan got it. Bueno, ¿quién ha leído el libro de Proverbios? Who's read Proverbs? En Proverbios, especialmente desde 1 al 9, Salomón habla de la sabiduría. Él personifica la sabiduría como la señora sabiduría y la locura como la señora locura. So Solomon, he personifies wisdom and folly in Proverbs 1 to 9 as women. So you have Miss Wisdom, or Madam Wisdom, and Madam Folly. And I think here, when he refers to a woman, he's talking about Madam Folly. Cuando Salomón se refiere aquí a esta mujer en 7:26, él se refiere a la señora locura. Es una personificación de la necedad. Y él dice esto acerca de la locura. This is what he says about foolishness in Ecclesiastes 7:26. La necedad o la locura tiene un corazón con lazos y redes y manos como cadenas. Foolishness, Solomon sees, describing it as a woman, foolishness has hands that are like chains and a heart that is like a net. And what he's saying is that he saw in the world many people are enslaved by foolishness. That's the point. Salomón vio en el mundo que muchísimas personas están esclavizadas por la locura. Is that true or false? Of course it's true. Por supuesto es la verdad. ¿Qué es la locura? No temer a Dios. ¿Quién no teme a Dios? Todo el mundo. What's foolishness look like? Well, if the beginning of wisdom is fearing God, foolishness is not fearing God. And who doesn't fear God? Romans 3 says, there is no fear of God before their eyes, talking about everybody. El punto, Salomón, cuando él investigó, cuando él trataba de entender el mundo que Dios ha creado, sí, él dijo, bueno, yo no puedo entender sus propósitos siempre, pero yo puedo entender una cosa. La locura tiene esclavizada todos en el mundo. No somos tan buenos como pensamos. Solomon, when he applied his heart, he said, I can't understand all of God's ways, but I can understand one thing. Foolishness in the world has enslaved everybody. And we're not nearly as good as we think we are. Now, you want to see that's what he's talking about. Just go to Ecclesiastes 7, 27, 29. Si tú quieres confirmar esto, mira Ecclesiastes 7, 27 a 29. Ecclesiastes 7, 27 a 29. Ecclesiastes 7, 27 to 29. Look what he says. Mira, dice el predicador, he descubierto esto, agregando una cosa a otra para hallar la razón. Que mi alma está todavía buscando, mas no ha hallado. He hallado a un hombre entre mil, pero mujer entre todas estas no he hallado. Mira, solo este he hallado, que Dios hizo rectos a los hombres, pero ellos se buscaron muchas artimañas. Ecclesiastes 7:27 says, Behold, I discovered this, says the preacher, adding one thing to another to find an explanation, which I am still seeking, but have not found. I have found one man among 1,000, but I have not found a woman among all these. Behold, I have found only this, that God made men upright, but they have sought out many devices. Entonces, eso significa que cuando Salomón miró a todo el mundo, él encontró un hombre justo, pero una mujer no. No, eso no es lo que significa. So Solomon finds one guy in all of the world that is righteous and no women. No, that's not what it means. Is that what it means? Okay. Es hipérbole. Uno en mil. I don't think so. It's a hyperbole. 1 in 1,000 means they don't exist. Not there. Needle in a haystack. Go look for it. Mira, no está. Uno entre mil. Eso significa que tú no vas a encontrar un hombre. Y él confirma eso por decir en 7:29, Dios hizo rectos a los hombres, pero ellos se buscaron muchos artimañas. God made men righteous, but they have sought out many devices and many ways to be wicked. Entonces estamos de nuevo in Ecclesiastes 7:20. We're here again in Ecclesiastes 7:20. Look what he says. Ciertamente no hay hombre justo en la tierra que haga el bien y nunca peque. There is not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and never sins. Now, bring this back. Why does he say all this? ¿Por qué dice todo eso? Es para decirte, cuando tú no entiendes los propósitos de Dios de darte adversidad con prosperidad, tú no debes reclamar tu justicia propia en ese momento y decir, yo merezco mejor. Eso es el punto. The point of all of this is to come back and say, when you're suffering, when God gives you this mixture of prosperity and adversity in your life, don't go to God and say, I deserve better, because you are not nearly as good as you think you are. That's the point. Now, very quickly, very quickly, I want to show you the other side, what other people do. Sometimes people are self-righteous, other people do something else. Yo quiero mostrarte el otro lado. A veces reclamamos nuestra justicia propia, a veces pensamos, entonces, ¿no vale la pena? Si yo voy a sufrir por ser justo, yo debo vivir como el mundo. Other people, when they start suffering for living righteously, they're like the second soil. You know what happens in the second soil? When the sun comes up and it gets hot, what happens to that plant? ¿Ustedes recuerdan la palabra de los terrenos? El segundo terreno, que es la tierra, ¿qué? La tierra con piedras. Cuando la planta comienza a crecer, el sol se pone, ¿qué pasa con la planta? Se muere. Eso es lo que pasa a muchos cuando ellos comienzan a seguir a Dios y después sufren por eso. Ellos dicen, no vale la pena. Look at Ecclesiastes 7:17. Ecclesiastes 7:17. Perdón, 17. No seas demasiado impío, ni seas necio, porque has de morir antes de tu tiempo. Do not be excessively wicked, and do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time? Salomón nos dice, bueno, yo no debo reclamar mi justicia propia, pero tampoco debo vivir como si Dios, a Él no le importa. Yo no debo pensar, bueno, estoy sufriendo por ser justo, así que yo voy a ser malo. I shouldn't think, Solomon says, well, if I'm suffering for being good, I should just go be bad because then I'll prosper. And God says, I might just kill you for doing that. Dios dice, tal vez te voy a matar por esta decisión. ¿Tú no sabes? Yo no debo reclamar mi justicia propia ni vivir como el mundo. Cuando yo estoy sufriendo. When I'm suffering, God says, don't claim your self-righteousness and don't think it's not worth it. I'll just go live like the world. There's a third way. There's a third way. Hay un tercer camino. No aquí y no aquí. Pero aquí, mira Ecclesiastes 7:18. Look at Ecclesiastes 7:18. Bueno es que retengas esto sin soltar aquello de tu mano, porque el que teme a Dios se sale con todo ello. It is good that you grasp one thing and also not let go of the other. For the one who fears God comes forth with both of them. What's he saying? He's saying, listen to my advice on both sides. Él está diciendo que debemos escuchar a tu consejo en los dos lados. No reclamar mi justicia propia, ni vivir como el mundo. Yo debo temer a Dios en el momento en que estoy sufriendo. I don't go claim my self-righteousness and I don't try to live like the world thinking, well, I'm just going to prosper over here. He says, fear God. Fear God when you're suffering. Fear God enough to say, I don't know what's best for me. Fear God enough to say, I need you in this moment. Fear God enough to say, I'm not turning around because this life is short, eternity's long. And I want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. Debemos temer a Dios. Temer a Dios es lo que Salomón nos enseña. Ecclesiastes 7:19, mira esto. Look at Ecclesiastes 7:19. Temer a Dios es el principio de la sabiduría, y Salomón nos dice 19, la sabiduría hace más fuerte al sabio que 10 gobernantes que haya en una ciudad. Ecclesiastes 7:19, wisdom strengthens a man more than 10 rulers who are in a city. Listen to me. If you fear God, He says, I'm going to give you wisdom that's going to make you strong. Strong enough to stand. Si yo temo a Dios, Él me va a dar la fuerza y la sabiduría que yo necesito para ser fuerte en el momento del sufrimiento. Si yo temo a Dios, si yo no tomo este camino ni este camino, pero si yo temo a Dios, Él me va a dar la sabiduría que yo necesito, que me va a proteger y me va a hacer fuerte para resistir y para continuar en el camino. How many of us are going to suffer? ¿Cuándo de nosotros vamos a sufrir? How many of us are going to suffer? You're not suffering right now. You think you're going to suffer? ¿Cuándo de nosotros vamos a sufrir? Dormir. Nada. Si no has sufrido, vas a sufrir. Y yo creo que necesitamos recordar que en este momento no hay que reclamar mi justicia propia, ni hay que vivir como el mundo pensando yo no voy a sufrir. Hay que temer a Dios y en eso Él me va a dar la sabiduría que me va a proteger. You're going to suffer in this world. And when you do, don't claim self-righteousness and don't say, well, I'll just live like the world because then maybe I'll prosper a little bit more. Fear God. And He's going to give you wisdom that you need that's going to make you strong. And I want to finish with this verse. It's Matthew 7:24. Mateo 7:24. Yo quiero terminar con este verso. Por tanto, cualquiera que oye estas palabras mías y las pone en práctica será semejante a un hombre sabio que edificó su casa sobre la roca. Matthew 7:24, Jesus says, therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them may be compared to a wise man who built his house on the rock. Do you want to build your house on the rock so that when suffering comes it doesn't fall? Then take the path of fearing God. Remind yourself I'm not so righteous that I know better, and I'm not going to live like the world. I'm going to fear God, and He says you'll be built upon a rock. Bueno, en el momento del sufrimiento, si yo quiero ser construido, edificado sobre una roca, yo debo recordarme, cuando yo estoy sufriendo, no hay que reclamar mi justicia propia ni vivir como el mundo. Yo voy a temer a Dios y en eso yo voy a poder resistir. Amén. Bueno, yo voy a orar y después vamos a observar la Santa Cena que tenemos. I'm going to pray, and then after that I'd like for us to take a little time to observe the Lord's Supper. And then we'll have some announcements after that, okay? Let's pray. Oremos. Gracias, mi Señor, por este día que nos has dado. Gracias por tu palabra, mi Señor, que nos enseña que tenemos algo en el corazón que quiere hacernos responder a los problemas y el sufrimiento y la adversidad en esta vida, mi Señor, de una manera mala, mi Señor. Pero sabemos que tenemos tu palabra para instruirnos, que tenemos tu palabra para guiarnos. Ayúdanos. Mi Señor, ayúdanos a temer a Dios. Ayúdanos a buscar a Cristo, quien es nuestra justicia, para la gloria de Dios. Ayúdanos a vivir según la sabiduría de ecclesiastes. Danos esto, mi Señor, yo te pido. Father, I pray that you would help us to live according to the wisdom of Ecclesiastes and to see, God, that in all of our suffering, there is no call for us to be self-righteous and no call for us to be antinomians that live like the world, but there is a third way. We are to fear God, and in fearing you, you will give us the wisdom to make us strong like a rock in a house that's built upon the rock and not upon the sand. Help this church to be built upon the rock of the wisdom of God. We ask that in Jesus' name. Amen. If you have your Bibles, go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Si tiene la Biblia, mira conmigo 1 Corintios 11. 1 Corintios 11. 1 Corintios 11, 23. Y lo que sigue, it says 1 Corinthians 11, 23 and following. Porque yo recibí del Señor lo mismo que os he enseñado. Que el Señor Jesús, la noche en que fue entregado, tomó pan. Y después de dar gracias, lo partió y dijo, esto es mi cuerpo, que es para vosotros, hacer esto en memoria de mí. De la misma manera tomó también la copa, después de haber cenado, diciendo, esta copa es el nuevo pacto en mi sangre, y haced esto cuantas veces la bebáis en memoria de mí. Porque todas las veces que comáis este pan y bebáis esta copa, la muerte del Señor proclamáis hasta que Él venga. Verse 23, for I received from the Lord that which I also delivered to you, that the Lord Jesus, in the night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, this is my body which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way he took the cup also after supper, saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. 27. De manera que él coma el pan o beba la copa del Señor indignamente será culpable del Señor y de la sangre del Señor. Por tanto, examínese cada uno a sí mismo y entonces coma del pan y beba de la copa. Verse 27, therefore whoever eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But a man must examine himself, and in so doing he is to eat of the bread and drink of the cup. The Lord's Supper is not a light thing. It's when we celebrate the death, burial, resurrection, and second coming of Jesus. La Santa Cena no es una cosa ligera. Donde celebramos la muerte, la resurrección, la ascensión y la segunda venida de Cristo. So I'm going to ask you, if you're not a Christian, you should become one today. Si tú no eres cristiano en este momento, bueno, la Santa Cena no es para ti. Pero puede ser, si tú quieres venir a Cristo. If you want to come to Christ, the Lord's Supper can be for you. Si tú eres un cristiano, pero no estás caminando en obediencia, no has sido bautizado, no quieres seguir al Señor, o tú tienes cosas que tú no quieres rendir a Él, la Santa Cena no es para ti. Tú necesitas confesar. Y si confiesas, sí, tú puedes tomar de la Santa Cena. If you're a Christian here and you're struggling, and you're unwilling to give something up that God wants in your life, I want you to know that the Lord's Supper is not for you. But if you're willing to confess it, then you can come to the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pray. I'm just going to give us a few minutes to examine ourselves. Yo voy a orar y darnos unos momentos para examinarnos a nosotros mismos. And after this time, I'm just going to ask you to come up here. We've got bread and juice. You can come up here and grab it, take it back to your seat, and then we'll proceed with the Lord's Supper. Después de estos momentos, tú puedes venir aquí para la copa y el pan, y después vamos a continuar con la celebración de la Santa Cena. Tomemos estos momentos. King Jesus, we think about the day that we will be with you in glory and we'll see you face to face. We think about the day that, like Thomas, we will look upon your pierced side and we will see the nail marks in your hands and your feet. And we're reminded, Jesus, that you didn't turn back from the cross. You went willingly to the cross. You lost everything for the sake of the glory of God and to bring sons and daughters into your kingdom. So we want to celebrate you now. We are not ashamed of this gospel. It is the power of God to save all those who believe from faith to faith. We believe, Jesus, that you are alive and you reign at the right hand of God. And we proclaim to the world that we believe this, even though it makes us look like fools. God, may we take this remembrance that you've given us. May you use it to focus our minds and hearts on the wonder of Jesus. Mi Señor Jesús, estamos aquí esta mañana clamando porque queremos celebrarte a ti. Tú muriste por nosotros. Por tu sangre, mi Señor, el velo fue rasgado, mi Señor. Por la sangre del Cordero, mi Señor, tenemos acceso al trono de Dios y un día vamos a ver la gloria del Señor Jesucristo, el Cordero inmolado. Oh, mi Señor, yo te pido, ayúdanos, mi Señor, a celebrar esta Santa Cena, mi Señor, como parte de la celebración de nuestras vidas, que hemos sido comprados por la sangre preciosa del Cordero, mi Señor. Y ahora tenemos un Salvador que reina, mi Señor. Que reina, mi Señor, a la diestra del Padre. Y un día que tú vas a venir por nosotros y vamos a ir contigo para ser cara a cara con Jesús para siempre, mi Señor. Y no podemos esperar para este día, mi Señor. Queremos este día más que queremos vivir. Así que ayúdanos a vivir. Ayúdanos a tomar esta cena, mi Señor, como la celebración de todo lo que has comprado. En el nombre de Jesús.